What happened on this day in 1933? Was Satoshi Nakamoto born in the year 1975? And what did JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon say at the annual shareholder conference, which could be the spark for the new Bitcoin bull run? Let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together we are Minting Coins, your trusted source for crypto news, interviews, and ICO reviews. Thank you for showing up. Tap that like button. It really supports us and it helps other people find this content. Also, if you have any questions or comments, leave those in the comments box below so your voice is heard as part of the community. In today's episode, we're going to be going over a lot that's happening in the news. We're going to be talking about what happened on this day in 1933, and we're going to be talking about what is happening, what some people are saying, which could be leading indicators into the explosion of the cryptocurrency market going into the summer of 2018. As we all know, Bitcoin could go to zero, it could go to the moon, or it could stay the same. No one here is giving financial advice, but with that being said, let's dive into the news and let's discuss. So there are a lot of people tweeting today this mailer from the postmaster that everyone received. So please post in a conspicuous place so that everyone can be aware of this information. What happened is that under executive order of the president issued April 5th, 1933, all persons are required to deliver on or before May 1st, 1933, all gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates, and to bring it to a Federal Reserve bank, branch, or agency, or to any member bank of the Federal Reserve System, as signed by executive order. I think this was FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, that issued this out in 1933, making it so no one was able to own gold anymore. You had to submit all your gold, give it to the government. After they gave it to the government, then the price of gold had risen 3x. People lost out on those profits. The government was able to take advantage of those profits and based the US dollar on the gold reserve to really give the government a lot of strength in terms of the financial system. Then you fast forward to 1973, then subsequently come off of this gold reserve, and we are in this fiat-based system now where all the dollars in your pocket, all the dollars in the banking system, all of the dollars that are used all across the world are based on the full faith and confidence, credit of the United States government and the military to pay back that debt. It's not based on gold. It's not based on anything of substance or value other than the full faith and credit of the United States government. But in 1933, they were shifting to this gold-backed system, and once they had all the gold from all the citizens across the country, then they had a lot of gold to back that money, and gave them a lot of strength to exert their influence around the world. Since 1933, the value of the dollar has gone down significantly as different monetary policies from the Federal Reserve, from the Treasury, from the global financial system has really had this view of Keynesian economics, has had this view that we need to have a target inflation rate. And what is a target inflation rate? The inflation rate, they say, is adding money to the money supply to balance the dollar, to keep the dollar stable. But in that, they're making the dollar less valuable, and that's reflected in the pricing so that everything is costing more money over time. And so the question that a lot of people are asking, is it possible that the government could have the similar sort of executive order where on or before May 1st, 2019, 2020, could all people be required to deliver all Bitcoin private keys, all Bitcoin coins or Bitcoin bullion to the United States government so the United States government can create their own new money system on Bitcoin? It's a crazy thought, but it's happened with gold. Could it happen with Bitcoin? There is a case to be made that we could see something like this in the future. It'd be really interesting to see how that plays out, although that would be pretty dystopian if that was the case, and I think they'd have a very difficult time getting all the Bitcoin from everybody since a lot of people may be expecting this to happen in the first place. So if you'd like more information on that executive order that had everyone give their gold to the government. Executive Order 6102. We'll leave this Wikipedia link in the show notes for you below. So for the purposes of this show, we don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but Trace Mayer had tweeted this as well, and he said that also on this day in 1975, Bitcoin's Satoshi Nakamoto was born, and it's very interesting that if Satoshi Nakamoto is who Trace Mayer is indicating as Satoshi, that he was born on the same day that this executive order was executed. Personally, for a long time, I've suspected that Satoshi is Hal Finney, but as Trace Mayer's tweet seems to indicate, he thinks that Satoshi is going to be Nick Szabo. Moving on, as tweeted through Yahoo Finance, JP Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon, in his annual shareholder letter to the JP Morgan shareholders, Jamie Dimon says in this letter that we have to deal with the possibility that at one point the Federal Reserve and other central banks may have to take more drastic action than they currently anticipate, reacting to the markets, not guiding the markets, he said. A simple scenario under which this could happen is if inflation and wages grow more than people expect. I, in this case, Jamie Dimon, believes that many people underestimate the possibility of higher inflation and wages, which means that they might be underestimating the chance that the Federal Reserve may also have to raise rates faster than we all think. So now this is the exact scenario that a lot of people are expecting for major change to come about. A lot of people are expecting the economy to come into a correction, and a lot of people are saying that one of the ways that this could happen is if inflation goes up higher than expected, if wages go up higher than expected, people have more money to spend, there's more money out there. Inflation gets too high because the cost of goods and services are moving up faster than what people are anticipating, and the reaction from the Federal Reserve would be to increase rates. And if these rates are increased at a higher rates that people are expecting, then this could be very dramatic for the markets. It could be very dramatic for the expectations that investors have into the market. And if this happens, then this could create an unfortunate scenario where people start losing their jobs, where the cost of money becomes too high for people to borrow what they need. They will have to focus on paying back the loans instead of taking out loans. And this could feed into a market correction or worse, some sort of recession. I think what's really scary is that there's so many people who are in the market now who aren't aware of the events of 2008, who aren't aware of the events of the year 2000, who aren't aware of the market events from 1984. These are a lot of people. There are entire generations of investors and financial professionals who have experienced nothing but falling interest rates, right? The opposite of increasing interest rates, of course. And so perhaps finally getting to a point where interest rates really have nowhere to go but up. People, investors, financial professionals do not understand necessarily what a market looks like when the interest rates go up. They don't necessarily understand what the market looks like when we have inflation that's higher than the target rate that the Federal Reserve is going for. And so while in the past interest rates have been lowered and for longer than people expected, they may now go higher and faster than people expect, according to Jamie Dimon. What's worse, when you add on top of what's happening in the geopolitical stage, what's happening with the gold-backed futures of the gold-backed yuan, the Chinese currency that's backed by gold, that's going to give a lot of countries the ability to buy and sell oil without using the U.S. petrodollar, instead using this gold-backed yuan. It's going to give additional fuel for the fire that America may be on the precipice of experiencing. And so that's just the traditional financial markets. And here we're talking a lot about Bitcoin. And so when we look at Bitcoin and we're looking at how much the Bitcoin market has been oversold, anything could trigger bull run into Bitcoin, into cryptocurrency. And so some of the examples of what could trigger this event could be China unbanning Bitcoin. It could be the SEC approving ETFs. It could be the CEO of a big company who's buying all in. Or it could be a combination of any of these events plus other traditional financial events or geopolitical events that either cause a slump in the US dollar, an increase in inflation, or a jolt to the Bitcoin and blockchain industry? So there's so much to talk about in the news. There's so much happening in the news. The show could be 4 hours long every single day. There's so much happening in terms of the developments within the industry. There's so much happening in terms of the push and pull pressures on top of the industry coming from the traditional markets and traditional geopolitics around the world, traditional business and finance. We see the Verge coin having huge problems, 51% attacks, people really questioning the legitimacy of that as a new token on the market. A lot of these projects coming on board without fully vetting themselves and without working with the rest of the community to help peer review their own technology. We have the SEC cracking down on a lot of these companies as well. We see Floyd Mayweather and other celebrities like DJ Khaled who are getting their names in the news. A lot of bad press with a lot of these scammy ICOs that are being attacked by the regulators for being scams, for being frauds. We have John McAfee out there where people are finally realizing that he's making money by promoting his tweets. And why is the reason that he's even telling everybody that he's making money promoting his tweets? Well, the reason that he has to tell people that is because it's the anti-touting provision of the Securities and Exchange Act 1933. And if anyone pays you to promote their security, or in this case, an ICO, you're legally required to say how much you were paid to promote that ICO. And so in order to protect himself retroactively, he's probably letting everyone know, hey, this is how much money I got to protect myself. Then in Seoul, South Korea, we have Bitcoin conferences going on, blockchain conferences going on. We have Craig Wright, fake Satoshi, being called out by Vitalik and Joseph Poon, that Craig Wright is a fraud, that Roger Ver is practically also a fraud. You have a lot of these Bitcoin Cash people being called out. Now that Bitcoin is doing so much better, now that Lightning Network is doing so much better, you have all of these Bitcoin Cash shills on YouTube and around the industry all around who are just not being as vocal about their shilling, right? They're recognizing that while they thought Bitcoin Cash was the one true Bitcoin, or while they were paid to say that Bitcoin Cash was the one true Bitcoin, they're maybe putting their tails between their legs and walking that back a little bit, or just not bringing it as much until an I told you so point comes up. But yeah, it's really interesting that we finally have people calling out Roger Ver, that we finally have people calling out Craig Wright, and we finally have people who are focusing on the blockchain industry, that are pushing blockchain technology, let it be Bitcoin, BTC, or Ethereum, forward into the world where we are really going to be able to help people, where people who don't have bank accounts are going to be able to get bank accounts. People who do have bank accounts are going to be able to get new bank accounts that don't charge the same fees, that don't infringe upon people's privacy, that actually give people stronger services, stronger products to be more efficient and more effective in this world, providing all sorts of new systems, new processes, new procedures. The people who are providing this infrastructure to create this new world based on blockchain technology, not on misconceptions with the fear and the doubt, really distracting people's attention away from progress and just trying to manipulate what people think with saying outrageous things, giving information that is contrary to the facts. We see this over and over again. We actually dive through the news, we dive through this information, we actually go through and do the research. And while nobody can be 100% certain that Bitcoin is going to succeed, Bitcoin is still beta software. Yeah, it has hundreds of billions of dollars backing it, but it's 0 point something, right? The developers say that this beta software, there could be a black swan event in any direction. There could be a black swan event for Bitcoin or against Bitcoin. We just don't know. But up to this point, history has shown that where we are now is a strong position. Where Bitcoin is now is in a strong position. The number of people who have attacked Bitcoin verbally, technologically, through the infrastructure, through the different types of hard forks, they're relentless. They are not giving up. They will continue to not giving up. We are certain that there's going to be, more fear and confusion put out there. And that's why we're asking, is it possible that the United States could pull a China and say Bitcoin is banned? Could they pull a 1933 executive order and say, hey, Bitcoin is not banned, but you're not allowed to hold any of it, and you need to give it all up to the government? We just aren't sure. But I guess we're all going to find out. right? So with that being said, let me know, what do you think? Do you think it's possible that we could see an executive order requiring people to give up their Bitcoin? Who do you think is Satoshi Nakamoto? Do you think it could be Hal, or do you think it could be Nick, or do you think it could be somebody else? Please don't say Craig Wright. And also, now that we have Jamie Dimon saying that the inflation could be too high and that the Federal Reserve could increase the interest rates higher than anyone is expecting, faster than anyone is expecting, is that a canary in a coal mine saying that the shit is totally about to hit the fan? So let us know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Hit that like button. And until next time, I'm glad that together we are minting coins.